Good morning. I welcome you all to the Introduction to Generative AI Module 2. Understanding from the last session, we have, decided to brush up on some of the basics of data before we jump into the introduction of AI in this Module 2. So welcome you all to this session. The contest is the content of this particular session is going to be basically to understand what data is, what the data growth is, the type of the data, the different ways the data can be categorized on using a mind mapper, and details of the data categorization with examples. So to go into the first question to answer what data is, as we know from the textbooks, the data refers to the information that is collected, stored, and analyzed. In another perspective, we have data is a crucial component in computing and decision making. Lately, we've been hearing a lot of jargons from wise men here around, on data. So I've collected a couple of these wise sayings and put it across for to define what data is in this particular time of the, century. Data is the new oil. We've been hearing that. Data is the lifeline for modern businesses. Data drives decision. Yeah, the decision making can really be driven when we can really get into the insights of data. Data is the currency of the digital age. Well said. To predict the future, look at the data. Yeah. The data is not a number, it's a story waiting to be untold. So these are some of the jargons out of the couple of jargons which we have in today about data is what I try to, put in, which are very famous and we've been hearing on. Now, since we've understood a high level what data is, let's understand the growth of the data. It is expected that 21.2% of growth is what through 2026 compounded annually. If you would want to have it in numbers, it's going to be 221,000 of exabytes is what the whole data, is going to be accumulated by 2026 and beyond. That means one exabyte is 10,000 petabytes. Now, the percentage of samples when I have to, give you this 221,000 exabytes, I broadly classify this into structured and unstructured. We'll see what difference are in the structured and unstructured. At present, we see that structured is where you have things which are with labeled, and unstructured is we do not have any label. Yeah, structured is an example of an Excel sheet. A spreadsheet is what we can take it as an example of structured. And the unstructured, if you see the 90% of the data available today and going forward 2026 and beyond is expected to be 90% of unstructured type of data. And it's only 10% of the structured is what we would have the ecosystem loaded with. The amalgamation of the structured and the unstructured is what the semi-structured data falls into. Understanding this, let's see the different types of data can be categorized based on, you know, there are different aspects the data can be categorized on. So first one is the data can be categorized based on the structure, the structure of the data, the source of the data, the format of the data, the function of the data, the general methods by which the data is brought in, the temporal aspects, the spatial aspects, qualitative aspects, different applications the data can be classified into, the privacy aspect, usage context, specialized types, the processing stages the data can be, and the emerging types. So these are high level. There are 13 to 14 types where data can be classified into. We'll see how in detail how these can be classified into. But like say from structure point of view, what all different kind of structures can the data be with examples. So here I have a mind map for you. I've numbered these from 1 to 14. So we have 14 ways we were trying to classify the data, and then see what are the types of the data which, dwells into these classifications. The first one, I'll start reading it from the left top corner. Number one, the data which is categorized with respect to structure can be, categorized as structured data, unstructured data, and semi-structured data. The last slide, we did see a glimpse of what these are. Then we have from source point of view, it can be a primary or a secondary data. From a function point of view, it can have transition data or operational data, correct? So that's number three. And number four, we have from function point of view. Yeah, so function is what we've seen. So general methods point of view, we have synthetic data and simulated data. The privacy aspects, which is number five, we can have personalized anonymized data, and pseudo-dynamized data. Temporal aspects, we can have time series data and event data. We'll see each of these with examples. The emerging types, we can have augmented, behavioral, and log data. From an application point of view, the data can be classified into big data and machine learning data. The processing stages, we have raw data and processing data or process data. Specialized types, we have sensor data, streaming data, and multimedia data. The 11th one, we have usage context. From point of view, we have metadata and reference data. The 12th one, qualitative aspects, we have qualitative data and the quantitative data. The 13th, from a format point of view, we can have text data, numerical data, pixel data, and categorical data. Pixel data is a type of a numerical data. We'll see in the coming slides. The 14th one is a spatial aspects. We have spatial data, which is also called as a spatial data. We'll also see this comparison with the non-geospatial data. So this is where it is tabulated, or I should say in a structured way, is where each of these categories are, the 14 categories. So for example, if I take the first one as a structured data, we have three types: structured, unstructured, and semi-structured type. The same thing, source, which we have seen in the mind map, primary and the secondary data. By function, we have transitional and operational data. By spatial aspects, we have spatial and non-spatial data. By applications, we have big data and machine learning data. By user context, we have metadata and reference data. By processing stage, we have raw data and process data. By emerging type, we have augmented data, behavioral data, and log data. It's the same thing which we have seen in the mind map. Now let me open up each of these categories of data to explain in detail. The first one, which we have, we're trying to see three things together: the unstructured, structured, and the semi-structured data under the structure kind of data. So when I say the unstructured data, these are non-organized. They do not have any label to represent them. Examples are images, emails, satellite images, social media files. It could be a text files, videos, so on and so forth are examples of unstructured data. The 90% of the data, yes, it is unstructured as we've seen here. The structured data organized in a relationship based or a spreadsheet, they have labels, they're labeled data. Attributes which falls like name, age, addresses, and so on gets in as a structured kind of a data. We've seen semi-structured is a blend of structured and unstructured. JSON files are some of the examples. XMLs are some of the other examples we have semi-structured data. That's the first you know level of or the type of data from a structure point of view. Now let's see from the time series data and the event data. That's from a temporal aspect. When we see from a temporal aspect, let's open the time series data. So this is information which is recorded over a specific interval of time. The three characters of the time series data, as we all know: temporal sequence, each point represents a specific time; regular interval, consistent interval, that is, it could be a daily data, yearly data, monthly data, weekly data; and then you have continuous observation, continuous records of data. Examples: the stock market, daily temperature are some of the examples of time series data. The other category which we have from a temporal aspect is the event data. Information captures a specific occurrence or an event. Login attempts, someone tries to log into using the password. Transitional logs, these are the examples of event data. Coming to the third one, we have from a source point of view, the type of sources. We can have a primary data or a secondary data. Here the data is collected at the first hand, and it represents the originality of the data. These can be collected using a survey or experiment in the laboratory, are the primary data. Most of the researchers tend to uh, take in primary data as its source of data rather than considering the secondary data. So what secondary data? The data that is already collected, processed, and published by others is what we're trying to use this. Government publications, historical data, which is there from quite some time, and then we are trying to use that as that's a secondary kind of a data. The fourth one, what we have here is from a format point of view. We've seen from the last one, we have text data, numerical data, categorical data, and pixel data. When I say text data, it consists of strings of character, which represents a word or a character, email, social media post, transcripts. Numerical data, as the name says, it's a number in type, which can be discrete and continuous, height, weight, temperature, you know, length, all these comes in. Categorical data, the data represents discrete categories or groups, can be nominal, no order, a non-label, or ordered with an order. Example, gender, color. Then we have pixel data. Pixel data is a kind of a numerical data which represents the intensity and the color of the pixel in an image. So basically it's a kind of numerical data. Example, you have digital photograph, X-rays, MRI scans, all these are the pixel kind of a data. The fifth one we have is a transitional data and an operational data, which is under the functional category. So the functional under the functional type, the first one we have is a transitional data, the data generated from a day-to-day transitions, sales data, financial data, customer interaction data in a supermarket. These are transitional data. Operational data, it's a data used and generated by operations of an organization. That's where the operational data is. When we have to compare, the operational data is broader than the transitional data. That's higher than the transitional data. Here the examples are employee data, the product and manufacturing data comes under the classifications of operational data. The sixth one is we have synthetic data and simulated data, where this comes under the general methods. Yeah, the different general methods we have. The first one is synthetic data. These are artificially generated using algorithms like Gen AI. You know, these are not really produced or a real world event driven data. Yeah, these data sets are used for AI modules. Most of the researchers deny taking in synthesized data as its source of data, but if you see practically in scenarios like unmanned vehicle, more than 50% of the vehicle, 50% of the data is synthetic data because the data is not available. So that's where synthetic data comes in play here. Simulated data, this is created by mathematical models to represent the real world scenario. Example is flight simulation data for training of pilots. Then we have spatial data and non-spatial data. Here we have, this is from a spatial aspects point of view. So the spatial aspects is also known as the geospatial data, which consists of information of the specific locations on planet Earth. That means a weather map, contact list, which constitutes for a particular country with a country code is what I mean to say. So that's where geographical indicators do indicate into these data. Non-spatial data, which is the data which does not have geographical values. Operational data without geographical details is what an example of non-spatial data is. Then the last one which we have here is we compare with the metadata and reference data, which are from a user context point of view. So the first one is a metadata, the data that describes other data or business data. Or if I have to put it into another way, a metadata is a data about a data. Yeah, a data about a data. So examples are query engine rely on metadata, lineages. So here we have an example where we have a cat as a data, and we try to indicate what is this data has. What is the name of the file? The name of the file where the cat data is saved or the image is saved is a cat file. And what is the size of the file? 100 kbps or 1 gig. And then where is the location of the file, where was this taken? All these are metadata, correct? The reference data, the data helps categorize business data. Example, the financial institute reference data would be the amount of money transferred. That's the kind of references with respect to a particular category. Yeah, so with this I have covered most of the important categories of data. And yeah, with this we come to the end of this module 2. Thank you very much for your time and see you in the next module 3. Thank you.